Hello, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host, Matt Dillahunty. Joining me this week, Tracy Harris.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
We're so glad you could join us today. Oh, screw all that. We're live like normal. Today is Sunday, August 17th, 2008. Thanks to everybody who's joining and watching us live.
Why did you say that God is just some character in a book?
Actually, I didn't say that. What I mentioned was the question of the historicity of Jesus as to whether or not he actually existed. I didn't say he was a character in a book because I have no idea if he was or not. Maybe he existed, maybe he didn't. The jury is pretty much out. I'm okay with accepting, from a general point of view, that some person existed that may be the center of the biblical stories and myths. But there's this complex question about what do you mean when you say Jesus? If you mean there's this guy who is the Son of God, who walked on water, raised the dead, cured the sick, was killed and resurrected and ascended bodily to heaven, I don't think that person exists at all, and I don't think that there's evidence for it. If you say that Jesus was this itinerant rabbi who preached love and peace and stories grew up around it, okay, maybe that person exists, but it doesn't really matter much. My point is that the people who assert that Jesus is a historical fact, along the lines of George Washington or Julius Caesar or anybody else, they're overstating the case. But that wasn't really what
I was going to say that actually wasn't even the point. The point was simply that in the context of why Jesus is important, it is more important that he existed than what he said, as opposed to other characters in antiquity whose existence is in question, whether it's barely in question or greatly in question. What mainly matters with those characters is what they said and not whether or not they existed. And with Jesus, it's sort of alternated.
My point would be that you guys are refusing to accept that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior.
Correct.
You're correct. I'm refusing to accept that.
But instead, you think he's just some fairy tale with fairies. Well, I'm not trying to be offensive at any cost.
I don't know.
I'm not offended.
I do respect you guys.
I'm not. I wouldn't assert that it was that Jesus was a fairy tale. I would, in my opinion, the biblical stories, especially the ones that involve supernatural stuff, are the rough equivalent of fairy tales and myths. And until somebody demonstrates otherwise, I think that's the most reasonable conclusion. As a matter of fact, the justification for this probably is if you are a believer who believes in Jesus and the stories in the Bible, and you don't think that they're
no offense, man, but I really like you. You're a great guy.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, he's not offended.
My point still stands.
I'm actually answering that.
Still refuse Jesus as your Lord and Savior, that you reject him by calling him some sort of character or a fairy tale, that he does exist in the nature.
How do you know this?
But yet you still won't.
What makes you believe that Jesus still exists?
Because he's still there. He's in your heart. He's
what makes you think that?
He does signs that really helps you out in your life.
What makes you think that?
He's a spiritual guidance.
What makes you think this?
He's a spiritual guidance that needs.
What's that mean?
A whole lot of help.
How do you justify that statement?
Why do I justify?
No, how?
That he's still around is because look at the nature of everything. Look at the trees, the flowers.
Okay.
Everything.
How is that proof of Jesus?
Because Jesus is God.
And what's your justification for that statement?
Because he was dead once.
How do you know?
Resurrected to heaven.
How do you know this?
On the throne.
You're not going to get an answer.
How do you know that he died and was resurrected?
Because in the Bible.
There we go. So how do you know that the Bible is true?
Because the Bible is a geographical evidence and proof of what
look up
happened during that time period.
You need to look up geography, first of all, because the Bible isn't geographical evidence of anything.
Because if you go up to Jerusalem yourself,
Right.
What about the
So,
see
so
the
when I pick up a
where he was
Spider-Man
buried
comic,
in.
when I pick up a Spider-Man comic and it talks about New York, when I go to New York, is that proof that Spider-Man exists?
Or the Quran. If the
Oh,
Quran
you
talks
believe
about...
that Madeline O'Hare is just some fraud?
What's Madeline O'Hare have to do with this?
Because I know that your show that you represent is Madeline O'Hare's commentary and protectors of all the lies and
I think we're over the rainbow.
wrongdoing that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Over the rainbow.
Oh, shut up, Tracy.
Oh,
We
okay.
are.
See, I would have actually let you get one more inane comment out because there are some people who appreciate the calls where somebody can't make a point or can't think straight enough to actually support what they... I'm fine with you believing whatever it is that you believe. I wish you could clearly express why, but for all I know, you may have been a prank call just wanting to lead us down to your,
15 minutes.
ridiculous statements. What, Madeline O'Hare? How do we get there? Oh yeah, she started in Austin and used to have a TV show. So what? I just sometimes I don't get it. For those of you who think we let him go on too long, well, I apologize.